The worst thing people can do is get into business together and don't set up a proper agreement. There's no handshakes in business. Get things done and get them done properly.
The name on the door, is that a big thing? Is that a thing?
Any names on the door.
Well, that's why I did RP.
No, but is it up on the wall somewhere?
It's up. It's on the logo.
And in November 22, I lost my home to a house fire. And as a result, Westpac said, screw you, we're taking your insurance money and putting it on your loan. It was an awakening moment because what do? You either crawl into a ball and hide from the problem, or you get the hell up, you get in the boxing ring and you figure it out. Unfortunately, people go to lawyers when shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
What people need to do is go to lawyers at the beginning. When life is happy and things are good, that's when you have a lawyer in your corner. Every conversation is an opportunity. Every connection could be a contract. Make it.
Is
that how we're gonna...
Bruno is my husband, for those that don't know. Bruno works in my business.
You give him the pay rise is the question.
Yeah.
He's got me, so let's connect.
Yeah, baby. Hey guys, welcome to the Connect podcast, and we've got a super exciting episode today, but I'm joined by my friend Ron from RP Wealth, Pat from Oztech Sparks, and you all know me, Ben from Shadow Fitness Club, but we do have a special guest today, Renee from Renee Roumanos Legal.
So Renee's been part of the Connect community for a long time, and Renee has started her business in 2022 off the back of some heartache during that process as well, which we'll delve into. And today we want to talk about how you can best protect yourself, your business, your assets, your family, and your future. So Renee, thank you for being here today.
Hi.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and how you came to start your own business and what your journey looks like?
Sure. So Renee Roumanos Legal was a little dream of mine, and it was sort of a happy accident somewhere in between in the career. Now, Renee Roumanos Legal is all about doing law differently, providing legal advice without the jargon. And what I really love doing is painting a different colour on the law. I think they call me a confetti lawyer sometimes, which I'm fine with. That's cool. I'll take that. And the chick that's always in pink in the wrong places. I did try wearing pink in court. Didn't go too well.
So you just used it on the glasses, right?
Exactly. So Renee Roumanos Legal was started in 22, and we've now grown. We've got 3 solicitors and 3 support staff. We've got an office in Oran Park, and it's all really exciting.
Yeah. So you've scaled it quite well in that, the last 3 years or going into your 3rd year?
Yeah. So we specialise in a few different areas of law. We do lots of property, lots of conveyancing, commercial, estate planning, and family. So we like to think of ourselves as everyday law for everyday people. So we're the people you want to call when you have a problem.
Yeah.
Renee, so it's not the norm to wear colourful stuff in law? Like, tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's this perception with lawyers that we should be prim, proper, black suit, very boring. Yes, I'm going to use the word boring because that's the connotation of what people think of as lawyers. And I like to do law differently. There's lots of pink in my office. There's lots of colour. If you check out my socials, you notice there's way too much pink for it to be a lawyer's page. But I like to think of it as doing things differently because you're born to stand out. Don't fit in. Yeah.
And you started your business for a reason. You want to do it how you want to do it. And I guess it's up to you to back yourself and show the work behind it. And and I talked about, a bit of heartbreak, starting the business.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that because I actually saw you on the news before I even met you. And it was heartbreaking seeing what happened. And then a couple of business partners told me that you're that person that's now sitting in Oran Park. So, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So I'll go back a step before that. Before I started my business, I was a lawyer at Qantas. I got a really, really cool role, really cool benefits, loved it. I fell pregnant to my son. I gave birth to my son, and 3 months later, I went back to Qantas because that's what I thought I was set out to do. Very lucky for me, Bruno stayed home with the little one. COVID hit really soon after, and then I lost my job at Qantas. So that was really unexpected. And
that's right. There was a lot of layoffs during that time.
Yeah, and I wasn't ready for that. So at that point in time, I rolled the dice and I said, you know what, I'm just going to be really courageous and I'm going to start my business because what do I got to lose?
Yep.
There's nothing to lose at this point. I have nothing else. I've got my little kids and I'm going to show them that you can do anything.
And it was hard to, I guess, go look for another job at the time.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Did you have intentions of starting a business before when you were at Qantas, or was it just a sort of on-the-spot decision?
When I was studying law, I always said, Renee, Roumanos Legal, or, had various other names. And I always said it was one of the things that I would have liked to do. I then fell into really comfortable lawyer positions in big corporations. Prior to Qantas, I was in Wesfarmers, so they own Coles and Kmart, and they were really cool roles to be in, especially as a young solicitor. So I was really happy and really comfortable and earning good money for that sort of level of my
Plus all the
career.
benefits that come with Qantas.
Exactly. We used to finish work on Friday and just go to the airport and just see where we could go. Literally.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Literally.
What, free flights?
$50 flights to Melbourne.
Oh, you're kidding. That's cool.
Business class. It was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Really
nice.
cool times. So once after COVID hit, I did think, what am I going to do? Where do I see myself? And I used it as an opportunity. It was my opportunity to sort of take a moment to start the thing that I wanted to start, to see if I had it in me to do this big courageous thing. And I'm really pleased to see that we're, down the track I am. So it wasn't until September 22 that I officially started my firm. I was consulting under a different business before I actually commenced. So I started my business officially September 22. I moved into my dream home with my family not long before that. And in November 22, I lost my home to a house fire. At that time, I had my business in the home that I had just set up, and I had lots of files and things in that office that were all destroyed by fire. But the hardest part of it all was I carried my little kids out of a burning house.
Yeah.
That burning house was my dream home at the time.
I think the footage on the news was it your Ring camera or the house across the street?
It was.
It was hard to see because just seeing the heartbreak in you, I don't know if you boys have watched it. It was hard to see. You've just run out of the house with just the clothes on your back, plus your kids. Seeing your house burn down, and I could just see, that's sad. And like you said, it's your dream house. You just moved in.
Yeah, we found ourselves on the news because our insurance was being redirected to our mortgage, and our bank refused to consent to release funds to us. So even though we have homes and they're insured, if you have a mortgage on that title, your bank actually have to consent for the release of your insurance money to come to you. So in our circumstances, which were really horrible, we were underinsured. Our mortgage was greater than the value of our land and our burnt down house. And as a result, Westpac said, screw you, we're taking your insurance money and putting it on your loan.
Yeah.
And you can figure out the rest.
Oh, so you don't get the money yourself and decide what you want to do with it. We're just going to use it to pay back the balance that you owe us.
Correct.
Or you owe Westpac.
Correct.
So you're still in a position where you've got no money,
Yep.
no house,
Yep. Still running a business.
trying to run a business,
Still got 2 kids.
no
that need
income
to be
coming
looked
in, or
after.
trying to get the income coming in, but trying to find a place to work from. Wow.
Yeah.
What caused the fire?
It was electrical. Clearly some shitty electrician. So it's really important that you get a good electrician that knows what they're doing.
Thanks for pointing at me, just for all the listeners. It was a brand new house and the electrical was done by the builder. And how did that process go when you took it back to the builder and said, hey, what the hell?
Yeah, we are still in legal proceedings. We're going down a very messy
So
lawsuit.
still, in 3 years later.
Yep.
Yeah. And I know it was messy with Westpac because that took some time.
Yeah, absolutely. So dealing with the bank, the insurance, the builder, several large
Everyone's trying to
parties.
palm it off to each other.
Absolutely. It's
Or while you're going through what you're going through?
Not having a house. Or where were you living at the time? Like, were you having to pay rent? Were you moving in with family? Or
yeah, good question. Post fire, we moved in with family for a short period. We were really blessed that we have big families that we do. They kept us going. We came out of the house fire with nothing. I did run back to get my laptop. Of course, the solicitor did. But we came out of there with nothing. We lost everything. It was a total loss fire, total loss claim.
I think as a business person, that's the one thing that you would run back in.
I did run back in.
Yeah. Laptop.
Bruno asked if I ran back in for the rings or any of the important, the expensive stuff. And I was like, no, I got my laptop. And my IT guy was like, you're an idiot. That shit's backed up.
It's funny because me and Kat were talking about this the other day, and we talked about if, let's just say a fire did happen, do you have a section where just your passports, your IDs, your keys, like your rings, like you can quickly grab a bag and run out of the house? Because we said, should we do that? Like, I know it might not happen.
Can I be real with you? I was in the house fire. You're not running back to get shit.
No, but let's just say you're on the top floor. Like we got 2 levels. You grab it and then you're running down. Like, or in your head, have you just, not thought? Like, I know you got your kids,
think
right?
in the moment, when you're in a moment of that much fear, it's fight, flight, freeze.
Yeah.
If you fuck your passport, you get that shit replaced. Like, you got your kids. That's the most important thing. Yes, my laptop was important. Really, it was because I had settlements the next day. But in the moment, the only thing you're doing is getting to safety.
Yeah.
That is what people should do.
Yeah.
And if people are running back to get the emergency pack, well, then that's just silly.
No, maybe not running back, but just having it there, just having some type of emergency pack where if you are there, that's your one thing you need to grab, and then you can run for your life.
So on that note, post-fire, I have created these fire-resistant A4 folders. And every single time I give clients their estate planning documents, I say to them, here is your fire-resistant folder. When you go home, you're going to put all your important things in there. Go and get your passports and your birth certificates and your marriage certificates and all the things that mean things to you. Take this fire-resistant folder and put it somewhere safe. And it's this really bright coloured folder. Yes, it is pink.
That's what I was going to ask.
Pink, it is pink.
Yeah, so when they can identify it after the fire, they know where to go.
Exactly. And what's really cool about that is, yes, you've got the important stuff, but they're in a safe place and they are in a fire-resistant place.
Even if they didn't make it out, still.
Renee, I want to go back to that moment. Was it just yourself in the house and the kids, or was Bruno there as well?
Just me and my kids.
And at that moment, how did it all unfold? If you don't mind me going there.
Yeah, we can go there. Kids were asleep at the time. My daughter was 1. My son was about 3. Both were asleep upstairs. It was daytime nap. And it was the one day I'd work from home and have kids. And kids were both asleep. They'd been asleep for maybe half an hour. And next thing I heard was my son screaming for his life. He was at the top of the stairs, and we had a gate at the top of the stairs. And I remember I just got off a conference call, probably couple seconds before, and he was screaming. And it was a scream I'd never heard in my life. And I was like, what is going on up there? And I ran.
How old was your son?
3, 2.5, 3. And I got at the top of the stairs, and the entire room, the living room, was on fire.
Far out.
And I remember thinking, literally, no words in my head at that second. I was like, oh, my God, come here. And I grabbed my son's arm and basically dragged him as I ran under a wall that was engulfed in flames to get to my daughter, grabbed her by her sleep sack and basically carried him in one arm, carried her in the other. And I just remember kicking the gate at the top of the stairs with all my mighty force, kicking it open because it was one of those, child lock safety things. And I just remember running down the stairs, running through the hallway, running out the front door. And the moment I opened the front door, the window above us in the living room upstairs had actually exploded.
Far out.
And it alerted everyone in the street that this big scary thing was happening. So within about 30 seconds, people were running out of their houses because you could just hear something explode, which was our front window, and you could just see the engulfment of flames coming out. And I remember standing under it, feeling some shatter, the shattering of the glass. And if you watch the news article, this is what you see. You see us running out of the home and screaming. And neighbours had come to our rescue, and I literally just remember throwing my kids onto the grass area and then running back in. And I ran back in to yell out for my dog, get my phone and get my laptop. That was it. I remember calling 000, and we were in an estate that was a brand new estate, and our address didn't come up on the maps.
Wow.
And being a new subdivision, I just remember screaming into the phone, trying to give fireys some sort of direction of where to turn to get to my home. And after that, I just sat at the front of the house across the road and watched my house burn down.
Did you get the puppy out?
We did.
Good. I also wanted to know that.
We did.
What would you say would be the biggest things you learnt about yourself during that time?
The courage to be vulnerable is not about winning or losing, but it's about the courage to show up when you can't predict or control the outcome. That's what got me through. It took a lot of courage to be vulnerable. I had to tell people what I needed in that moment. I had to acknowledge that I needed people right there and then. And it was my time to be vulnerable and say, this is what I need. And I remember I was so new in business, calling my business friends. And I was like, oh my God, this thing happened. And I need you to do blah. I remember calling my lawyer club friends and I said, I need you to write me a checklist of what the hell I need to do because I have no idea. I've obviously just lost lots of important documents. Who do I ring? What do I do? Do I have to ring law cover right now?
Because everything's done via paper files, right, in law.
Yeah. Well, a lot of things are, yeah. And I think pausing and reflecting on the fact that I needed help and I needed to accept help from wherever it was coming. And that's a really hard thing for people to do, especially people of strong personalities. It's hard to stop and say, you know what? I'm going to accept all the help that comes. Because right now in this second, I need it. And I remember being really blown away at how wonderful people were and how many of those people said to me, Renee, you helped me in my hardest time. I had clients whom I am internally grateful for who found out what had happened. And there was one client in particular who just filled her boot. She went around, she told everyone that this thing happened to her lawyer, and her lawyer helped her through her darkest time. She wants everyone to help me through mine.
How does that feel, knowing that it's a client?
It was a really, I think it's hard to accept, but at the same time, it's a really deep feeling of a little bit of joy.
I think it's deeper than a friend doing it for you.
It is, because these people don't owe you anything. But for this person, I helped, I must have done something in their hardest times to alleviate them, and they wanted to repay that. So for me, that was a real moment, and it was a real awakening of, wow, I really do, like what I do in my business and as being a lawyer really does
change
in people's lives. Yeah. And in this moment, they wanted to help me.
You think tragedy like that shapes you to be a better lawyer?
I think so, absolutely. Absolutely, because until you go through the darkest times, you haven't seen shit. You don't know. As lawyers, we're there fighting for people. But unless that person's been through the hardest time themselves and can put themselves in that other person's position, realistically speaking, you don't know. So, yeah, I do. I absolutely think I've changed and shaped as a person because of the experience. And it wasn't a matter of, this thing happened and then it was resolved. It wasn't like that. We had a circumstance where, the thing happened. We were underinsured. Our insurance didn't want to pay us money. The builder didn't want anything to do with it. We didn't have money to fix the problem. And we were talking about an entire brand new home. All our stuff, everything in it. It was an awakening moment, because what do? You either crawl into a ball and hide from the problem, or you get the hell up, you get in the boxing ring and you figure it out. You throw some punches, you fight for your rights, you figure out how you're going to get through. And that's what we did.
And do you think if you didn't have the legal knowledge that you do and you were just an average Joe, would you have got what you've got now from the bank, the insurance companies?
Absolutely not. I don't know how any lay person would have gone through that. I had the knowledge, I had the skills, I have the expertise, and I struggled.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine a lay person receiving a notice from the insurance that your insurance money has now gone to Westpac and you can figure everything else out yourself. How would someone deal with that? I was lucky because I knew the different avenues I had to go through in order to obtain an outcome, but the lay person wouldn't.
So would that be the case all the time? If someone's house does burn down, the money goes to the loan, not to them?
Not necessarily, but one of the steps involved is that the mortgagee on title must consent to the money being released to wherever it's going. And in our circumstance, we didn't have enough money to rebuild. So the outcome was giving the money to the insured, who was us, to then deal with it. So we didn't have the funds to then say, hi, builder, can you just take these funds and rebuild us what you did before? It was a matter of saying, hi, this is the leftover money we have. Here you go. Go and solve the problem.
Yeah.
Go and turn your burnt down home into a home for your family. And I was somewhat lucky because I had skills and people around me that could help. And I always say your circle is so important. The people around you make you. And I was lucky because I had my brother who had just finished his construction degree, who is not a licensed builder yet at the time, who has the skills to help us. I had lots of clients who were trades, who had the ability to help us with our construction. We had some of the funds, but it was amazing because we then knew that we had the right brokers in our corner to help us get more money if we needed to finish what we had to do. So what did we do? We got the demolition crew to come out, demolish. We went and spoke to the architect, said, what do we do? Help us redesign. And the architect gave us the best advice. And he said, you turn this horrible thing into your dream home. And I said to him, but I had my dream home. And he said, screw that one, make a new one.
Did you redesign it?
We did.
Change the design?
Absolutely.
And it's that same location?
Same spot.
Yeah.
Bigger, better, prettier, more entertainment area.
I
pink?
didn't know it was the same spot. I loved it. It's great.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, so we built bigger and better, and we turned a shitty situation into the best home on the street.
Yeah.
So when every home on the street is cream, ours is dark grey just to piss them off. And, we did all the things that we wanted to do. And the architect said, this is your moment to change everything.
Yeah.
You turn this into what you want it to be.
Now,
and we did.
Now, home insurance is becoming, higher and higher every year. We all get the renewal. We think, do we continue paying it? Do we change it? Should we be looking at what the clause is in there?
Oh my God, absolutely.
So what should everyone be looking for in terms of that payment? So
we should be looking for nothing. We should be speaking to the experts that know what they're doing to give us advice. We should be speaking to insurance brokers who can review a policy and tell us what we're actually insured for. And there are some wonderful insurance brokers out there in the local area whom I can refer to. And building prices have gone up. When we purchased our home, our build contract was for $500,000. But 6 months later, life changed, and all of a sudden the build price was $850,000. So everyone needs to have a policy that reflects the current build cost, because if something happens and there's a major incident such as a house fire.
But also COVID increased the cost of all building.
Absolutely. So when looking at these policies, it's, am I actually covered for today's price?
Yep.
And if something happens, is demolition included? Are my contents covered? Do I get rental if I have to go live somewhere else? What does that actually look like as a whole? And it's amazing how many people are underinsured and have no idea.
Yeah.
Fast forward then, Renee, obviously, remarkable story of tragedy there, right? And I don't want to discredit that. You guys obviously went through something as a family no one can really relate to. So hats off to you. But fast forward, I look at your social media and it's not one of pain. It's not one of tragedy. It's actually one of color and brightness. Like, how do you flip the script on who you are when you've been down and out like that?
Were you like that before? Did that continue, or did you change?
Did that give you a new lease of life?
Yeah.
At that?
I would say it gave me a new leg of life. But every day when you wake up and you choose to be happy. There's always going to be something going on in the background. Every single person has something going on. You wake up, you choose to make your story, and you choose to be happy. And that's exactly what I did. I woke up and I said, you know what? I have today between 9 and 5, I'm Renee, I'm the lawyer. I'm not the owner builder. I'm the lawyer, and I'm going to go and be the best fucking lawyer I can be. And I'm going to help clients, and I'm going to make a difference. And I'm going to do everything within my power to obsess over my clients, give them exactly what they need, ensure that their outcomes are exactly where they want it to be. And that's what I focused on. So I flipped the switch and said, this is what I'm going to focus on. And my dreams are going to be really, really big. And I'm going to leave work and go to a job site. And yes, I'm going to spend every weekend at that job site. And that's what we did. But at the same time, you flip the switch and you say, I'm going to do law vibrantly, and I'm going to obsess over this thing that I'm creating and move forward.
Let's talk law. What do you actually specialize in, or are there parts of law? Because law is such a big realm, right? Like what do you love doing in law, or what do you specialize in?
Yeah, cool question. I love law, love doing law for everyday people. We specialize in property, commercial, and estate planning. They're our three main buckets. And when I say property, I mean buying, selling property, dealing with things like build contracts, commercial, so anything and everything in relation to business, whether it's setting up business, setting up agreements, or dealing with the problems as they come up later. And the most important piece is, of course, protecting your legacy, which is estate planning.
So going into business, because a lot of people in our network have partnerships in business, and some of them could be from friendships or family members, and some of them could just be another business colleague. What sort of shocking stuff have you seen out there with business partnerships, and what advice would you give?
What does someone need to do to protect themselves, and what are some horror stories there?
The worst thing people can do is get into business together and don't set up a proper agreement as to who's doing what and what things mean. I see this day in and day out where someone calls me and says my business partner is doing the wrong thing, or my business partner is doing something that's not in accordance with the business, or they've misappropriated funds, or they've done something naughty, whatever that looks like. My next question is, what agreement do you and your business partner have in relation to the said topic? Have you set up a proper constitution? Have you considered whose role is what and who's doing what? And if someone wants to exit from the business, well, then what's the process for that? So there are so many horror stories where, there's two directors of a company and one director is doing the naughty. And going down the pathway of dealing with that is a very complicated thing, and it's a very time-consuming thing. So it's so important, if you are getting into business, you're setting up the paperwork and the documentation that goes through exactly what is what, who is who, how are we protecting ourselves, and what are the terms of this agreement. If A and B are getting into bed together, technically speaking in business, what does that mean? What does every aspect of that look like? And my question is always, how do we minimize risk? Everything is a risk factor. How do we minimize risk? So I think anyone who is in business needs to pause and reflect and say, what is the risk factor of what I'm currently doing? Now I'm about to enter into an agreement with person A about this thing. Great. Who's drafting the agreement? Please do not go to ChatGPT or AI. Go and speak to a solicitor. Do not go to those online websites that you can pay $7 for an agreement. They will fall over. Go and speak to a lawyer and get an agreement set up properly.
Sorry.
I was going to say, so off the back of that, how often is it that you come across partnerships that go south, and what is it usually that makes it go south?
I had a phone call this morning from a client, and this particular client and his business partner are setting up a really revolutionary business. And he explained to me that him and his business partner had this agreement that he would do A, B, C, and business partner would do, all these other things.
Was this a written agreement or just a verbal?
Unfortunately, verbal.
Oh.
And his question to me was, how do I kick him out? How do I get rid of him? That was the question. And unfortunately, without a written agreement, it's really hard. Yeah. You can't force someone to surrender their role as a director. You can't force someone to give up a role as a shareholder. There has to be circumstances around that, and an agreement that has to be, there has to be something that has been breached. So without the written agreement, it just makes things very hard because the terms and conditions are unclear.
And all of a sudden, you've got someone that doesn't want to put in as much effort now because the other person isn't. Because they're getting 50% of everything you're doing now.
Well, what does it mean if there's no shareholders agreement in place at that point? Like,
how would you facilitate that?
It's a mess.
Yeah,
it's a mess. That's exactly.
Because you can't push someone out unless they wanted to sell, right?
Well, the example of this particular case from this morning is they had an online created agreement from some website.
Mm-hmm.
And the difficulty with that particular agreement is it's not bespoke and it doesn't cover your circumstances. It's an online agreement that has nothing to do with what you're doing. So what it's missing is this agreement is specifically created for Bob and Jill. And Bob and Jill agree that Bob's role is blah and Jill's role is blah. And these are the things that they're going to do. And if someone breaches tasks above, then this is the consequence.
It's kind of like an employment contract for business owners.
Something like that. So it's a way to think about it.
From what I understand, doesn't have so much job description. It's more
Roles, rules.
mitigating risk.
And what about if, let's just say, me and Ben want to get into business, right? But I want the contract because I really want to protect myself. But Ben's kind of like, you know what? We're boys. We'll be fine. We don't need to do it. If you want to do it, you go pay for it. Is it my obligation, or should we be paying it 50-50? Should I, if I really want it, is it up to me to pay for it? Because these things are going to be a bit costly, right?
I think that's your red flag.
Yeah.
Right there.
I was going to say it's a massive red flag.
In everything that happens, there are red flags. And I think people need to pause, reflect, take in the red flag, empower themselves with information, and make an informed decision on how they proceed.
Yeah.
Because typically those red flags are there for a reason. And if there's two people involved in an agreement and one wants to do a handshake and the other one wants to go see a lawyer, there's no handshakes in business. Screw the handshakes. There's none of that shit. Get things done and get them done properly.
I think what happens sometimes, you get excited by the idea.
Yep.
Where obviously a conversation, like you said, between the two of us, we come up with an idea, and we're excited by the impact we're going to make, the profitability that we're going to do, the services.
Our friendship has been 18 years.
Yeah, we trust each other.
We've never done anything wrong.
No, you haven't. There's never been bad blood. So then all of a sudden we've got this idea but we don't talk about the risk involved in what if we have the breakup, right? So, look, I've been in multiple business partnerships over the years, and I've tried to always make sure that there is an exit plan on these things too, because, at some point the glossiness of the partnership wears off and the momentum shifts.
Absolutely.
And other people move into different sectors and do different things 100%. Or have different ideas for the business, right?
Absolutely.
So then what do you do at that point? So that's the challenge. But do you always get them when they're ending, or do people come to you at some point through are you getting them when it's messy, or you as a lawyer, or do some people come as a prevention? Like they should be coming as a prevention, right?
Unfortunately, people go to lawyers when shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
That's when people go to lawyers. But what people need to do is go to lawyers at the beginning. When life is happy and things are good, that's when you have a lawyer in your corner. Everyone needs a lawyer in their corner. Everyone needs that friend. I call myself a friend because I like people to think of me as their friend. Call your friend and say, hey, doing this big life thing, what do I need to do? And everyone should have the ability in the sense to realize that every big business decision requires some aspect of some legal advice and some direction from a lawyer to ensure that you're minimizing your risk and you're protecting yourself. So yes, I have so many people that come to me typically when things go wrong. And what I'm often saying is you need an agreement about this thing, and I see it a lot with trades, unfortunately in construction, old mate's doing, I'm just going to throw it out there, carpentry for a builder. He doesn't have a proper agreement in place. What are the terms of that arrangement?
He's just getting work handed to him.
Right. And the problem that we see now is old mate doesn't want to pay. Then what? And I'm sure every trade can relate. Lots of people in the service industry can relate to doing work and not getting paid and then having to chase it. And that's a very expensive process. And unless you've got proper agreements in place, those things can haunt you. However, the flip side, I see trades entering into subcontractor agreements with big business, and they're so excited to sign on the dotted line for the $1 million contract. Well, what they may not understand is in that contract are terms that are going to haunt you later. And I say that because I see it. I'm just going to use an example of a particular trade entering into an agreement to do particular works for a project. In that contract, we'll have something called liquidated damages. And I had a case where a trade came to me and said, I've breached my particular agreement because I'm taking too long to do blah, but things have happened that are outside my control, that it's not my fault. But what he didn't realize was in this agreement, there were several steps you had to take if you thought there were delays. He didn't take any of those steps. And in the agreement, it also said every day you were delayed, you have to pay the contractor $27,000 every single day because that is the cost of your delay. So these agreements are so scary. So if you are in a position where you're doing work for other people, then yes, again, you need your lawyer in your corner to say, hey, this is what this agreement means for you and you need to understand what it means before you sign.
Let's talk contracts and payments, because in a trade, there's been instances in the past where we haven't been paid by certain clients. Not a lot, which I'm blessed to say, because I've heard a lot of shocking stories out there with other companies.
Benny, I thought he did a good job on the gym.
No, Ben was fine. No, it was fine. So there was a couple of companies that have gone through liquidation, and then we just couldn't scrape anything out of that, and we're just like, oh shit. Well, I guess we're just going to have to accept it. It is what it is. And then it was only until I started to get burnt by this in the past that I thought, okay, maybe it would be a good idea to put a few contracts in place, get personal guarantees signed and that sort of a thing. So I would feel going to a mum and dad house and doing a small job for them, a couple of grand, and then asking him to sign a contract. Do you think it's something I can incorporate into my quote when I send it out as a tradie, or is it something like just a couple of lines down the bottom saying all material is owned by Oztech Sparks unless payment is, or does it need something a bit harder than that?
I think every single contract to do work needs a proper contract in place with terms and conditions to that relationship. And I say this because no matter who you're doing the work for, whether it's Big Bob Builder or whether it's mum and dad, we need a proper agreement that sets out A, what are we doing? What are the scope of works? B, how much the scope of work is going to cost? When are payments due? So are you taking a deposit and then taking payments upon progress of the works? D, what happens if they don't pay? Can you reserve the right to stop work if they don't pay?
And does it need to be signed, or could it just be attached to my quote when I send it through?
There should be
if it's on a smaller scale.
It should be a clause on there that says if you pay your deposit, you're accepting our terms and conditions.
Yep. Okay. Now another thing is personal guarantees.
Yep.
I had a few builders and clients in the past on larger projects sign personal guarantees because I haven't done work for them before that, and I thought, you know what, I'll just make sure I dot the I's, cross the T's, and get them to sign a personal guarantee. Now this hasn't happened to me, but I heard someone in the past who's had personal guarantees signed by a client, and then they didn't end up paying, and they couldn't get anything out of them because everything was put in the wife's name. So, how would you avoid something like that? Would you take a personal guarantee to both partners?
So let's go back a
and
step.
Their uncles and aunties and...
So let's go back a step. A personal guarantee, for those who don't know, is a document that forces a director to be personally liable to do a thing that's within this particular contract. So, for example, a personal guarantee is something you might have from a builder or anyone who is in a corporation, so that if the company goes bankrupt or goes through liquidation or whatever, then you can go after that person personally. Now, if in the circumstances that particular person doesn't have anything in their name, the personal guarantee is not worth the money, the paper it's written on. So you can't really get personal guarantees from things like the wife or the sister or the brother or whatever. However, if you could see that assets have been disposed of before the liquidation or bankruptcy proceedings, and absolutely those assets should come and form part of that bucket of money. But going down that pathway is very hard. But for those who are in this position, before signing anything such as a personal guarantee, they need to understand what that all means and how that can come back and haunt them later. But if you're a trade or you're a business owner and someone owes you money, then you should absolutely be obtaining some legal advice around what to do in that particular circumstance.
Yeah. Do you find that is a problem with some of the trades that come to you about not getting paid? Like, would that be one
Absolutely.
Is it worse now
Absolutely.
than before?
Every single trade you speak to will complain that they are not getting paid. Since COVID, since things have changed, since interest rates went up and down and doing the happy dance that they're currently doing, people are struggling. Life is more expensive. Everyone is holding onto their bucket of money much tighter than they previously were.
Well, you look at how many builders went into liquidation last year. I think it was 4,000. It was the highest number. It was about 4 every day.
Absolutely. And it's scary because people don't operate in good faith anymore.
Yeah. And they just change, set up a new business. Is that still happening?
Probably.
Closing down, liquidating, setting up a new business?
Unfortunately, it is. It does happen.
So there needs to be changes to legislation or law.
They are. So there are legislation. There is legislation out there to stop that happening. But the truth is it's still going to happen.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we go back to how do we protect ourselves? How do we protect our family? How do we protect our business? And in everything, it's about pausing, reflecting, analysing the risk in whatever it is we're doing, empowering yourself with the information, and then making an informed decision on how you're proceeding. And if you are doing things such as entering into build contracts and you know builders are going bust, well, then do your homework before you enter into that contract.
Yep.
I had an interesting story from a friend of mine who's also a Sparky. He's a good friend of mine, and he does a lot more builders work. And he invoiced for a big portion of his business of this job, got paid by the builder, and then the builder went bust a few months later. The builder then came back to him, or the builder's lawyers then came back to him, asking for that money they paid him to be paid back.
So which was his money
Sorry, do you know?
So they paid him for his work.
to do the work.
He invoiced, the builder paid him, and then a few months later they went bust.
You know what I've been telling you?
And then they came back for the money. But they started law proceedings. It got taken to court. He had to get lawyered up, and eventually he won. But it was just an absolute pain in the ass process that he had to go through, and it blew my mind when he was telling me.
You have to spend more money on lawyers, spend more money on.
But imagine that. Imagine that you're thinking to yourself, "Thank God I got paid this."
Before it went bust,
and then he just went bust. Thank God. And then a few months later, they hit you up for that money. Hey man, sorry, we paid you that, but we sort of want it back.
On the flip side, I've had builders hit up my clients for an increase in the build and then go bust a week later.
Oh, nice.
And that happens so often.
Yeah.
It
Knowing that
happens.
they're going bust
Yeah.
and
It
trying to
happens.
scrape everything.
I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of that exact situation. And again, what does the contract say? Can they do what they're asking? Pause, assess the risk factor, get information, then make an informed decision. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard about clients in that exact situation where they thought, oh, the builder's so lovely and he's just asking for an extra 50 grand and he needs it tomorrow and I'm going to give it to him.
But also, you're that far in. What other option is there?
You speak to a lawyer. That's what you do.
Yeah.
Are we living in a world where your lawyer needs to be on
and part of everything.
speed dial? Because that's the way I feel after having speaking a bit to you. And
I was thinking that as well.
because
you're paying for everything at the same time. That's another cost that's just on top of all the other costs that come with it.
Well, every time you have an idea or something, you need to pick up the phone and call it up yourself or an accountant or whatever. Is that just the way of the world now?
I think it is. I hate to say that I should be on your favorites list in your phone.
Yeah.
Yes, your wife should be there and I should be number 2.
Renee saved in my phone as Pitbull because if they ask, I need a Pitbull, I send Renee to them. That's a true story.
I like that. I like that.
It is.
I'll take that.
If they need a Pitbull, I send Renee.
I think
Was it before she was a lawyer? Or?
No,
I think we all just need to pause and reflect and just protect ourselves in everything we do, because it's really great to have these really cool ideas and jump into different businesses with other people and whatever. But pause, get advice, empower yourself with information, and then move forward slowly. And I always say, just pause and protect yourself. How am I protected in this current situation?
Yeah.
Do you think you're a proactive or reactive lawyer? Are you one that sort of wants to settle on things, or are we aggressive in approach?
I'm very risk adverse. I see risk from a mile away, and I advise on risk very clearly and very early on. However, I'm very diligent on being collaborative and finding resolutions that don't involve court, because court is costly and time consuming and messy, and that's not how I do things.
Does it happen a lot where you settle matters before court?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm very big on how can we resolve this together? How can we all work together to find a resolution that doesn't involve really expensive legal proceedings?
What does that look like?
Okay, great question. I have a matter on at the moment where someone came to me and he was owed a significant amount of money for works that have been done. And the other party was very reluctant, and he was going to go lawyer up, and he thought he was really big, and he was going to make a cross claim on my client for said apparent defects. Now,
sorry, just what's a cross claim?
so if I make a claim against you for something, so I'm going to sue you because you owe me $10, you can actually be really cheeky and make a claim against me and say, well, actually, there's $50 worth of defects that I'm going to cross-sue you for that difference.
Okay.
And unfortunately, that's what's happening a lot, where people are making claims and commencing legal proceedings. Now, in
terms of building side of things, and
Just in everything.
well, everything, but we're seeing it a lot in building. Buildings, there's really the thing where people are owed money and there's said defects, and we end up in legal proceedings. Now, in this particular scenario, there's 2 options. we can go run the course of legal proceedings where we put on a claim, they put on a defense, they put on a cross claim, we put on a cross defense. We have to get evidence, they get evidence. It's messy, it's time consuming, it's costly. For us to run the course of that entire process, the client will pay 50 grand in legal costs. However, what did I do? I rang the lawyer on the other side. I said, can we sit down and talk? I brought my evidence to the table. He brought his evidence to the table. And I said, let's just talk. How do we meet in the middle? How do we find a way to resolve this in a meaningful way that gets our clients a resolution without ending us in, 10 court appearances for what? For the same outcome? It just seems really unnecessary.
Would the other lawyer be as for sitting down, or would some lawyers be like, no, stuff, you want to take this to court and just
it all depends on who the lawyer is. There's very different lawyers out there depending on which firms they come from and their style. And there's lots of big litigators out there that just want to be in court. And there's lots of lawyers out there who are collaborative and who want to work with you, not against you.
I've been watching Suits lately.
Love that show.
I've never
Best
watched
show.
Suits, but
It's
I
a
told
best
myself
show.
one day I want to start watching it.
Yeah.
So I'm literally in the thick of it right now, right? Like every night, that's our sort of
Who's your favourite?
binge TV.
Harvey? How much?
Oh,
You look
can't
like
go-
Harvey. You got the Harvey jaw.
You can't go past Harvey. But
So on
So,
Suits,
yeah, okay.
there is I actually put a reel up yesterday mocking someone from Suits, and the guy from Suits is like, "Oh, I'm going to shove this law so far up your ass," and I giggle. So I posted that reel on my story, and then I said, haha, that's actually not how we sue people. Let's be real. It's an email saying, please find and close my proceedings, because that's how we really do sue people. Because people
'cause
don't talk like that in
Okay.
real life.
And also,
I don't
American
want it to
laws-
believe that it is.
American law is very different to Australian law as well, right?
I don't know.
You don't dress up as a, like someone and go serve something. Does that happen here if you're serving something?
Yeah, I'm going to serve this
Yeah,
proceeding so
yeah.
far.
And
no,
then-
it does not.
Oh,
It doesn't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Dressing up as a postman and
Yeah.
then going there
It
and going,
does not
knock on the door. Okay, I'll go, yeah.
yes.
Well, process serving is a thing. So if I
Yeah.
make a claim against someone, I am going to pay a process server to go and serve them. But am I going to use the words that Suits use? No, I am not. That's easy. It's a great show.
I want to
but
start watching Suits.
Yeah.
you should. It
You'd
should.
be a Lewis. You look like a Lewis.
You're going to watch it now.
Can you leave him alone? I actually would pass for like
But
Actually, I
like
don't even
it.
know who
You
Lewis is, but I
Yeah.
feel like I'm getting bullied.
Towards the end, you'll like Lewis.
Yeah.
Like you.
Comes at
So you need
I
to
don't
see
know.
my recent
Thank
reel
you.
on social media.
Because Suits make it so awesome. I mean, it's, obviously very interesting what you do, and it's so diverse in what you handle and tackle on a daily basis. But yeah, it just makes, have you watched Suits yourself?
I have.
Okay.
I've watched all of Suits. It's a great TV series.
But nothing like what happened.
No, it's not. If you actually watch Suits, you will notice they don't have evidence. They don't use computers. Everything is just based on what comes out of their mind.
Yeah.
Because I actually mentioned this to
very
my
fake.
wife. We've been watching it together, and I said, there's got to be lawyers out there watching this thinking, this doesn't happen like this.
Yeah,
And the
100%.
things that he actually does, with the proceedings would be against the law, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
It's
Well,
very
especially
misleading.
Mike being able to get as far as he did.
Yeah.
with
Oh,
it.
that happens. It happens.
Yeah?
It
Oh.
absolutely.
Oh, so there are.
Or
That's
someone
the
else.
most ridiculous one.
It happens. I'm currently have proceedings on foot for a client, and part of those proceedings is a fake lawyer. So it does happen.
Yeah.
The world is a crazy place. Again, you need to do your homework, protect yourself, check people's licenses.
Yeah. Well, even like with the rise of TikTok, right? There's fake, I think in America, it's big about, dentists because people are wanting to get their teeth done or get Botox and stuff. So people putting out fake, certificates and then finding someone on TikTok that all of a sudden has, hundreds of thousands of views.
Well, there's a good point, right? How far are we going to go with this? Where
Because if you just say
engage with
views
a
now,
doctor,
yeah.
do you need to go?
Because people are looking at
You know what
views
I mean?
now. People aren't looking at qualifications. They're looking at views. If that person gets more
I
views.
think before you do business with anyone, you should be checking their license and checking their credentials.
Well, we're going to the local GP.
Well, I'm just going to assume my local doctor is a local doctor.
Yeah, if
because
that
he's
stock is-
practicing in my local GP clinic.
Not at the back of his house,
But
No,
if he
but
was
you see what I
practicing
mean.
in the back
Campbelltown.
of his house, then yeah, absolutely, he should not be there.
How far are we going to go when it gets like that, where you need to question?
I don't think we're like America at that stage, but there are people doing dodgy stuff. Like you see people on social media now selling stuff from their home. They're making stuff and they're putting it, and now people are getting sued because by the time it gets to them, it's leaked. It's not come to.
Well, let's talk social media. So you've been pumping social media. Let's dive into that a bit. How has that served you? How's that served your business? Was there ever resistance to go onto social media or put your life on social media?
Absolutely.
How'd you push past that resistance? Because it looks like you've been having a lot of fun there.
Yeah, so my very good friend is in marketing. And when I started my business, she was a big supporter and she forced me on the socials. And she said, you need to show everyone how you do law differently. And you're all about bringing a different light and a different color to the law. Great. Let's do that on the socials. So she pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I have been doing the socials now religiously for about 3 years. It is hard. It is fun. It's time consuming, but it's great for business.
Okay.
How much do you do? Sorry. I was just going to say, how often do you post? Like
approximately 4 to 5 a week. But I batch schedule. I do not post every day. So I would film once a month or twice a month maybe, but I'll batch film 20 things in a set of 2 hours. And I have an amazing person who does all the scheduling and the editing and all that fun stuff, which I don't do. But when I think of social media, it's about bringing your whole authentic self to the world through your business and showing the world I'm great at what I do. Know me, use me, trust me, etc. So I try to show them, yes, I am a solicitor and I know all the fun stuff about the law, but I'm also a mum. I have 2 kids. I'm human. I think I'm funny. I'm not, but I'm going to pretend I am. And that storytelling, it does work because people like people. People want to work with humans. And when people see a post about me as a mum and I've got little kids and I'm talking about estate planning, they know I get it. Because when we're talking about protecting our children, I've got kids. Let me show you who they are. Let's bring our whole authentic selves to our business and put that on display.
Do you think that cops a bit of negativity in your industry?
It does, because lawyers have a perception of what they're supposed to be. So when I get up and dance in front of the camera, I'm so certain there are people that look at that and cringe, and I'm okay with that.
Were you okay with that at the start?
No, I was scared.
How'd you push through that?
The courage to be vulnerable. You make a choice. You make a choice every day to push through, and that's what I did.
Do you ever look at something and think, maybe I shouldn't put that out there?
Absolutely. There is a post on there about Bruno dancing. Bruno is my husband, for those that don't know. Bruno works in my business. And there was a funny reel about him trying to get a pay rise and he's dancing in my office. And I watched that. I was like, oh, it's so cringy. But what was funny is how good the reel did, the reach it got, and it showed people that I'm human.
Which he had a bit of rhythm, Bruno. I'll give him credit. Did you give him the pay rise is the question.
Yeah.
He's got me, so not
So obviously not.
So the answer is no. What's it like working with your partner in the business?
Yeah, good question.
Good question.
He's now full-time.
He is.
Yeah.
Is he? He's full-time?
He is.
Yeah, well done.
He's doing really cool. He's doing really great. He's currently doing a conveyancing course so he can be a licensed conveyancer.
Yep.
Bruno comes from a finance background, so he deals with all the accounting stuff in my business. And he deals with a lot of the HR management side of things too. Let's just say when your spouse is the one working for you, if something's not done, it's really easy to want to throw a stapler at them. Because you can't do that with your actual, your other employees. So it's a fine line of trying to balance the fact that this is my business, these are my clients. I want my clients to be so looked after, and my expectations are so high. Anyone knows that to meet those expectations is hard. Yeah. So he tries really, really hard for the clients and to do those things. But let's be real, it's not easy being with the same person every day. So we don't. He'll come in the office a few days a week. I'm in the office a few days a week. But what works is the fact that we have young kids and those kids have big needs. And between the school drop-offs and the soccer and the dancing and the swimming and all the other crap, it's really wonderful that we're in a position to say, okay, I'm going to stay in the office till 6 o'clock and you're going to go do pickup, dinner, dancing, soccer, and then I'm going to get home and dinner's on the table and it's all lovely. And business is hard. So husbands and wives need to work together and co-parent and work together to get all the things done, because if they don't work together, everything just collapses.
And was it a matter of putting rules at the start when you brought him in?
Absolutely.
So you sat down, put rules together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And-
But I think he will say, and I've heard him
Well, it was
say,
only after you first threw the staple, then there was rules and
So
boundaries.
after
right,
the third staple.
I didn't throw the stapler, I promise.
Scissors.
I'll quote him. He likes to say, in the business, Renee's the boss.
Mm.
At home, I'm the boss.
Yeah.
And we try to balance it all out. So we know our place.
Yep.
Kind of nice that he accepts that too.
I've noticed the shift, seeing him talk at home and seeing you talk to him at work. It's a big difference.
Well, when your name's on the door,
Yeah.
it's on the door, right?
Do you have a shareholders agreement with Bruno?
That's a good one.
I do not, because he's not a shareholder.
Oh, hey, shots fired, Bruno.
Yeah.
Okay,
We love
back,
you.
bro. We love you.
We do.
You're a cool
Well done. So just on those rules. So when those rules get blurred, and how does it play out? Because obviously being partners as well, there's emotion mixed with it. Obviously,
Absolutely.
it being your business, there's also emotion mixed with
Absolutely.
it. How would you sort of navigate through that? And we're human as well.
We
it's
are
like,
human.
There's that grey area where it's like,
Oof.
What I would say is when shit hits the fan, when things go wrong, when things are not going in accordance with the agreement, the best thing to do is stop and acknowledge it. Say, hey, this thing happened. And in lawyer terms, it's in a breach of our agreement. But what you would be saying is, hey, this thing happened and it's not okay for these reasons. Or, hey, how are we going to work on this thing together? How are we going to improve this together? So I think open communication is so important.
absolutely.
Do you enjoy working in partnership with your partner? Like, is it if the business scales, would you bring another partner into the business? Is that an option, or we will continue to try and do this with Bruno?
Great question.
Like, is partnership a thing for you as a lawyer?
Me, no. I like to do things on my own. I like to set the terms. I like to have the big dreams and make them happen and lead that
in
team.
your way.
In my way.
Yep.
There are a lot of lawyers that do have business partnerships with other lawyers and they make their dreams happen that way. But for me, I don't. But my team, they are my partners. Whether your name's on the door or whether it's not, if you're in my team and you're in my office, you're my partner. I care what you say. I want you to be involved in every aspect of the business. I want you to contribute. I want your face on the wall. You are my partner.
The name on the door is a big thing. I don't know. I'm watching Suits, and that's
In a legal
yeah.
sense. Yeah.
I don't have my
Because
name.
they
on
all
the door.
fight for the
Yeah.
the
Is
name.
that a big
Yeah.
thing?
It
Is that a
is.
thing?
Your name's on the door.
I need to
It
put
is.
my
And-
name somewhere.
Ilacqua Fitness Club.
I think it makes you feel special.
Well, that's why I did
because-
RP, Wealth Management.
Did you?
Right?
RP.
No, but is it up on the wall somewhere?
What's up? It's on the logo.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not on the wall.
I think it's just a sense of I made
Oh, actually, it is.
because my name's on the door.
I'm going to do this.
You should.
What?
I'm going to put my
Maybe
name
Ilacqua.
somewhere. I just want it up on the wall.
Just in your bedroom.
Well, they do it in Suits and they fight over it all the time.
Yeah.
So it's not-
Renee, looking at everything now in
Cut me
business, sorry, man. No, I'll let you
Sorry, I
know.
didn't want to hear what I just said.
Keep talking about your name on the wall. Let it go, bro.
Sorry.
Nah, it's done.
Well, I wanted to hear. Okay, well, in business and in law, what would be your 3 biggest bits of advice? You know what? Let's go 2.
Let's go to.
Let's go 2.
You've heard me say it. I've said it all episode. Protect yourself. Number 1.
How would protect yourself in what way?
In whatever you do,
Yeah.
pause, reflect, read, go and get advice, and make informed decisions. Don't jump at things. Life is really great and we jump at things and we make impulse decisions all the time. But what we need to do is pause, reflect, review, get advice, then make that decision. And I think everyone needs to pause, get advice, protect themselves, protect their family, protect their business, protect their circle, and then move forward.
Were you a jumper before?
Absolutely.
And would you say this is before the house
Yeah.
situation, house fire situation, and this is what you've learned after?
Absolutely. I have ADHD. I have a neurodiverse brain. For those that don't know what that is, people think of it as I have 1,000 tabs open in my head. I am impulsive. I can get distracted really easily. And there's several other things. So now that we've spoken about it, it will come up on your phones, no doubt. And one of the things I discovered with ADHD is, yes, being impulsive, jumping at things like, oh, great, I saw that course online to be a mathematician. I'm going to go book into it and do it and pay this money and not actually do the course. but it's about being impulsive. So I absolutely was. But I think once you acknowledge something and you entertain the idea of some, maybe behavioral therapy or learning the signs, then you acknowledge what you need moving forward.
I have an admiration for females in business, and this is not to downplay, because there's some absolute boss ladies out there. I just think that, like, my wife is my business partner too. That's why I asked you those similar questions. But like, I watch my wife really stand up to certain situations, and how she deals with it is different to how a male approaches it. And I just think females have an incredible power that men don't have sometimes in certain situations, or they look at it in different light.
Different lenses.
I think women have the power to juggle. And when I say juggle, most women are thinking about 10 things at the one given time. So, we'd be thinking about work, the kids, picking the kids up, what the kids are going to eat for dinner, about what time I have to leave the house tomorrow to go to that thing. So we're naturally already focused on so many elements of our life. Whereas, I'm sorry to say this, but men are naturally in the now. And what do I need to do right now? Whereas women are always thinking 10 steps ahead. And I think as a woman in business with young children, with the busy household that's been through some tough times, again, we make a choice. We be courageous. We trust ourselves and we believe in ourselves, and you just move forward.
I just think, women in business is incredible. And I think you guys are on the rise, definitely. Like, there's a lot more women that are empowering each other to jump into different spaces and take on the men-dominated industries.
Absolutely. I tell all the women in the world they can do it. No matter what the age of the kids are, you can do it. You can make magic happen.
Right. Well, the boss in suits is a female.
How long have you been?
I'm in the thick of it. You got to understand.
Yeah.
I'm literally leaving here
because it was my favorite. It is my favorite. Yeah. It was my favorite show.
I'm watching 3 episodes.
But I feel like I want to watch it again now.
It's the only show I watch.
How many seasons is it?
7 or something. Yeah.
It's an hour an episode?
Yeah. Sorry. So I know you.
Oh, sorry.
Renee, hello.
Please do not invest your time in watching that rubbish. Go and read a book or something.
Or just
listen to the podcast.
I was like,
that's it.
Yes,
The Connect.
I don't watch much TV, and I was hesitant to Suits, because it just sounded whatever. But I have enjoyed it. You probably don't like it because it's your industry.
Oh, we're still talking about it. Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to cut it off. All right.
No, look, I want to say, just to recap from what you were saying, your 3 top or 2 top points. I think whether you're in business or whether you're personal, and whether you're dealing with a service or an industry or dealing with builders, you always got to look at the contracts, right? And not just you. Get professional legal advice, because people are always looking at an exit strategy for themselves on the other end. So they're trying to look at how they can escape from something if shit falls apart.
Yeah. Well, we've said this multiple times on the show with different guests, is you have to have an A-team around you. At all times, you must have an A-team, and it's an A-team in finance. It's an A-team, in
your health.
Yep. You got to have sparkies you can call on, or people in the building industry. Connect MacArthur, you've been a massive supporter of, and we believe that to do great business is to build great relationships.
Well, actually, you have we haven't really had someone that's come to a lot of our events. So maybe for the listeners and viewers out there, can you tell them your experience of our previous events?
Absolutely. So the way I see Connect MacArthur is an opportunity to connect with like-minded professionals who want to do business differently, who want to do good business, who want to service clients well. And if you are a business owner or a professional in the local area, I urge you to come along, meet this really cool group of people who are all doing very similar things and helping each other. And what's really cool is in the room is everyone who is authentic. They are bringing their whole authentic self. They are happy to say today was a shit day. They are happy to say that I'm working on this really cool, exciting thing. And we celebrate our wins together, and we can talk about our losses together too. That's okay. And networking does not have to be boring. It doesn't have to be serious. Hi, my name's Renee and I'm a lawyer. It just needs to be, hi, I'm going to tell you what I do and you can guess. My role is like the Mission Impossible. Can you assume what I do? Let's bring some fun. Let's bring some vibrancy. Let's do things differently. And that's what the event is going to be.
Now, have you got any business from the Connect events?
I have. I'm really happy and pleased to say I've had opportunities of supporting lots of clients of professionals in Connect MacArthur, and I've been really honoured that people have trusted me with some really big things happening in their life, and I've had the ability to help them.
Yeah, that's great. And that's what we're all about
I
here.
think
right?
after my event, I had one of my clients who's down the road, who's been in a building industry for a very, very long
big
time,
client.
very well connected. And he called me up and he goes, "Hey, who was that lawyer that was in the room?" And then he was sort of giving me a bit of a description. And I said, "I think you're talking about Renee." He goes, yeah, can you send me her number? And then I called you. And then you gave me her number, and then I passed it over to him. And I think he came into the office and he had a chat with
and
him.
he's still my client.
Yeah.
Likewise.
We've done lots
Yeah.
of fun things together.
Yeah.
And
Exactly the same thing happened to me.
Mm.
Renee made herself known to a particular person that knows me after the event, rang me and said, "I need to speak to Renee." So, hats off to you for one, connecting with people in the room and doing that successfully. I think that's awesome. Two, hats off to Connect for doing things like that, because we are trying to revolutionize the way we do meet people in this area. I think it's a young area and it's a growing area. And if we continue to work together, only great things can happen.
that is right. Every conversation is an opportunity. Every connection could be a contract. Make it happen.
Is that how we're going to end the show? We got to go into the questions. We got to go.
All right,
Yeah.
Renee, let's go. This is the fun part.
Yeah.
Of
Look,
the
thank you
show.
you've brought a wealth of knowledge, I think, in
Yeah.
terms of everyone that has listened to this episode is going to go away and look at their situation and think, I'm probably not doing any of what I'm supposed to be doing. And I should be putting it in place.
Not everyone. No,
sorry.
But some people would be thinking, I need to protect
rethinking it.
myself. Agree.
Just re-looking at everything, right?
And also, they only see Renee Roumanos on social media, right? So I think this is a good opportunity to get to know you on a
absolutely.
personal
On a deeper
level. Social media sometimes can paint great picture and paint different light. I think you're just a cool character. I think you're awesome, and I'm really glad that you spent today with us. But we're gonna shoot some questions at you just to see what you love and don't love. All right. So you're going to answer these questions just off the cuff. All right.
Oh,
You don't know what they are.
this is nerve-wracking.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready?
They're not that hard. It's okay. It's okay.
All right. Ready. Do you like the beach or country?
Beach.
Your first vehicle owned?
Peugeot convertible.
I could see it. I could see
It
it.
was a pink.
And it was bright blue. It was actually the Oztex blue. It was really cool. It's
That's
very
cool blue.
It is.
Yeah.
Favorite sport?
Right now, Pilates.
That's not a sport.
It is a sport. I
an
swear.
argument.
when I
Who's the winner and who's the loser?
we're all just winners. It's
Yeah,
Pilates.
exactly. That's not a sport.
Or do you follow a team of some description?
Yeah.
Then?
Do you follow a sport?
I'm just going to say I follow Inter Milan, the soccer team.
Okay.
Bruno,
Oh,
I hope
Bruno,
you're
Bruno, that's
watching.
from-
Yeah, he's watching from home, so that's where he's the man. See?
Beer or wine?
Wine.
Favorite cheat meal?
McDonald's. I know it's bad for you. It tastes so
A
good.
lot of judgment from
No.
China, bro.
Okay.
I know.
He just got back into the mode. Yeah.
I like this one. It's a tough one to answer off the cuff, but your bucket list, something you want to do maybe one day.
Ooh, bucket list. I really want to go skydiving.
Oh.
Right
yes.
now,
We
I
said
want to
we'll go
jump out
skydiving,
of an
didn't we?
airplane and I
Yeah.
just want to,
Mm.
I think that sounds
So
really
the boys have
good.
never done that either.
When we go skydiving, we'll open
We
up
should
there.
do a Connect
Yeah,
MacArthur
Skydive.
skydive.
Yep, 100%.
Is someone watching that wants to
Past business as we're jumping out of the plane.
do your will before you jump?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's what, anyway, we can talk about that. How far do you have to go? Anyway. Favorite quote? I think you've mentioned it. Can you say this again? Because
I
this is
did.
awesome.
The courage to be vulnerable is not about winning or losing. It is about the courage to show up when you can't predict or control the outcome.
Oof, love that.
Thank
We're
you,
going to put
Renee
that on a
Brown.
Connect little
Yeah.
template.
We should.
With
It takes
Renee.
courage to
Yeah.
be vulnerable, and that's what we all have to do.
Love that. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Retired on the beach.
Nice.
5 years.
5 years.
No, probably still in the business. Hopefully the business is growing. Hopefully my team is really big.
How big do you want to get?
What's big?
I don't know, but just
Like
5
10
years.
star, 5 stars, 9 star.
2030.
I currently have 7 staff,
Yeah.
and that's pretty big for a short time. I think if I was to get to maybe 15, that'd be a really cool position to be in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. Next one. These are the juicy ones.
Oh,
Pet peeve of yours, something that really irks you.
That Bruno does that. Yeah.
Leave Bruno out
the
of
one
this,
thing
man.
I hate, and you're going to get upset that I say this, is people vaping near me.
Oh,
I just
shouldn't
want
have said
to
that.
vomit, like absolute vomit. Like if I wanted to,
I thought you were gonna
vape,
say
I would
Indians.
vape.
I
I'm
hate
not
saying this
racist.
wrong.
no, you need to work
Yeah.
on the vaping.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Quit vaping. Hashtag Ron quit vaping.
Okay.
All right. So at
and add Bruno to your
Yeah,
vaping list.
oh, he's on the
Yeah,
list.
it was Bruno, it wasn't me.
At a party, Renee, do you dance or are you someone that people watch?
I am dancing.
Yeah.
I'm on the stage. Well, I'm
Nice.
joking. I'm I'm
On the
dancing
stage.
though.
But if you come to the Connect event, you'll see.
I'm joking. That came out really wrong. I mean for that to come out the way it did.
What kind of stage,
Renee?
Renee?
Just dancing.
Next
Starting
one.
the dance. Let's go.
What's a guilty pleasure TV show of yours?
Ooh, guilty pleasure.
He would just wants to talk about Suits. For
No, I wasn't
half
gonna-
an
No
hour.
way.
Another half
This
an
was
hour.
another
yeah.
plug for Suits.
Okay, so I recently rewatched the whole Prison Break series.
I was just wanting to
It
do that.
was
I wanted to
so
do
good.
that. That was
And
my
the-
favorite.
So they've released a new season, and
What?
it is horrible.
Like 10 years later.
yeah,
15
but it
years
is
later.
like horrible.
Yeah.
It's directed by some. I don't know who it's
Not the
directed
same
by.
actors.
But no same actors.
Oh.
But it's just really poor. They must have not had much money.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing you can watch. But I remember laughing so hard because none of it made any sense.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So if
Okay.
you want a good laugh, then watch Prison
I
Break
might
and
try
make
that.
sure you watch the last season.
I've got 2 more. Unusual superstition.
Oh,
Or do you have a ritual that you do in the morning, at night?
I wake up, I high five the mirror, and I say, "Let's fucking do this."
Yes.
Yeah.
Love that. And then if you're a snack, what would you be?
Can we get rid of that one?
Yeah, well, next question.
We always look at Ron every
Yeah,
time. he
you
comes
look at
up.
me.
Because I'm
You wrote
pretty
it
sure
down.
you
It's
told
your
me to say
question.
that. Sorry,
If I
Renee.
was a snack,
Yeah.
I would be Cadbury because everyone loves Cadbury.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
It's
Someone
a
said
great
cherry
I
ripe
think it's
Yeah,
a
before.
Turkish
Anyway,
delight.
Turkish
Turkish
delight.
delight I
That
was
came
waiting
up a
for.
few times.
All right, Renee, last question. 3 people. You get to take 3 people out for dinner. These 3 people could be of 3 people picked from the history of humanity,
The humanity of humanity.
humanity of humanity, or the humanity of history.
The history
Or
of humanity.
people in today's world. Who would those 3 people be? and
You
why?
3, obviously.
Oh, no one's ever said that.
Other than us 3.
Yeah.
Other than us 3.
No, I'm
Retire.
taking it.
I'm
Let's go.
retired.
Let's go out. Let's
Yeah. All right. After the Oran Park event, dinner's on us.
Done. Renee, if people want to find you, where can they check you out?
So my socials is a great place to find me. Renee Roumanos Legal, your local lawyer. I'm here for you. If not, my number is 0406 223 854. Call me, say hi. If you need legal advice, call me. If you don't need legal advice, call me anyway. Let's just have a coffee.
If you don't get through, you get routed to Bruno.
That's right. Someone will answer eventually. I would love people to get in contact. If you have a question about a thing, don't feel disheartened or scared. Just make contact, even if it's through an Instagram message.
No.
Renee, thanks for coming on the show. It's been incredible. A great story of hardship, and then you've overturned that to become successful in your own right. So I just want to say thank you for coming on the Connect podcast, and we look forward to your event with Connect MacArthur.
Absolutely.
Thank you for being part of the family and supporting us at all our events.
And for the free legal advice.
Yeah,
no,
thank
that's
you for
good.
that.
The last thing you got to do is look down the barrel. So we get all of our guests to say this. On 3, you're going to say, "Let's connect." Are you ready?
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1.
Let's connect.
Yeah, baby.
Let's go.
Thanks, guys.
We made this a free platform because we want to educate and add value to your business world. All we ask for as a payment is to hit the subscribe button and share it with people that you know would benefit from this conversation. If you want to elevate your connections, we'll see you at the next Connect MacArthur event.